Welcome back, ladies, to the Work in Real Time, episode 12. It is April the 1st. My name is Alicia, and I am a holistic health coach who supports women in creating lives that feel sustainable, nourishing, and grounded. 3 months in, what is quietly changing? Today feels meaningful because this episode marks about 3 months since I started this journey. And I have to say, a lot has changed quietly. Not in a dramatic before and after kind of way, but in the way I think, pause, and listen. And in the way I am learning to respond to my body instead of overriding it. This week I finished lesson 4, returning to ourselves, reflection, truth-telling, and personal reclamation in the bonus module, Black Women, Food, and Body Liberation. And one thing I want to say right at the beginning is I am really realizing just how important it is to work through the homework in each lesson. At first, it can look like a lot and feel daunting, but the work is where so much gets uncovered. It is allowing me to learn where I really am in the process. It is where I become aware of what is going on in my mind, body, habits, emotions, and my old conditioning. And once I become aware, then I can decide what I want to practice, what I want to loosen, and what I want to keep building. So for me, that part has been deeply important. Another thing I want to speak to in this episode is the food itself. Because when most people hear that someone is on a new program, what they really want to know is, what are you eating and what is happening with the food? I realize I've talked a lot in the past episodes about what I've been feeling, learning, and practicing, but not as much about how I've actually been eating. So I wanted to address that. I have been trying to listen to my body, and lately I feel like I am doing that more. Some days I get the strong urge for something like chicken fingers and fries, and instead of immediately judging it, I pause and ask myself whether that is what I want. A lot of times the answer is yes. Sometimes when I slow down and really listen, what I actually want with the chicken fingers is not the fries, but veggies. The last time I went out with a group of mine, I wanted chicken crispers, but I also wanted a baked sweet potato with butter and brown sugar and some green beans. And I remember having the thought for a moment, I'm not going to order chicken crispers. Who orders that at this age? That's what kids order. And then I stopped myself and thought, nope, this is what I want. To heck with what anyone thinks. And I ordered it and enjoyed my food. At the same time, I could hear other women saying things like, I want that, but I shouldn't eat that. And then ordering something else that looked perfectly fine, but didn't seem like they were actually enjoying it. And I realized that I was enjoying my meal. I was present with it, and I was not trying to earn it or justify it. Other times I crave colorful salads and salmon. And there are also times when I crave pasta. What has surprised me is that following my cravings and urges is actually allowing me to eat a wider variety of foods. Some days I'm more hungry and I eat more. Others I'm less hungry and I eat less. But for the most part, I have not been restricting anything. Now, I do still notice thoughts of restriction showing up. I might catch myself thinking, instead of sweets for a while, maybe just eat fruit and whipped cream. So I'm not going to act like that food judging voice is completely gone. But overall, I am allowing my body to eat what it wants more than I ever have before. Another thing that has been surprising me is that I truly thought by now, after a few months of doing this food freedom reset, I would probably have gained so much weight that I wouldn't fit into some of my clothes and need new ones. But that has not been the case. In fact, some clothes actually feel looser. And I share that because it has surprised me, not because the point is weight, but because I had so much fear around what would happen if I let go of restriction. And one of the things I'm learning is that fear has not told me the truth. I also had a moment recently that I felt proud. One of the women in a group that I'm in said, "Alicia, it looks like you're losing some weight." And I said, "Well, I'm not really sure because I don't weigh myself." And she looked surprised and said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "No, I haven't weighed myself for some time now. The most important thing for me is that I'm feeling good, not so much what the numbers say on the scale." And then I changed the subject. I was proud of myself for that because there was a time when a comment like that would have pulled me right back into old thinking. But this time, I stayed grounded in what matters to me most now. And what matters to me is how I feel. One of the other things I've been doing lately is intentionally paying attention to hydration. This past week, I simply became more aware of what I was hydrating with and what my urine color was telling me. My body seems to be wanting more water, and I felt like that must be important. So I'm paying attention and observing. And over the next weeks or so, I'm trying to determine what a good balance is. That feels very in line with this journey too. No rules or extremes, just listening. Outside of the module, I've been continuing my work with my therapist around inner child healing and nervous system regulation. And I can feel how all of this overlaps. The food work, the body work, the trauma work, and the regulation work. It all speaks to each other. Pleasure has also been a top priority of mine. This past week, I went bowling with a group of women, and I celebrated my son's birthday with lunch and a movie, which was such a good day. Cleaning and decluttering my house has also moved up on my priority list. I have been moving slowly, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this pace. Before, I might have tried to do a marathon clean in my house for 2 or 3 days, wearing myself out and still not feeling satisfied with the results. Now I'm taking very small parts at a time. I'm still using my little list of 3 or 4 things to accomplish each day, and it feels really, really good. There's more satisfaction, less pressure, and sense of failure. I can feel the tiny shift where life begins to feel more manageable because I'm no longer asking myself to do the impossible every single day. Now, as far as this week's homework, one question asked me to notice a moment when I wanted to override one of my body's signals, and I noticed 2. The first was fatigue. Due to daylight savings time, my rhythm was off. I went to bed later than usual, and the next morning, when it was time to get up, I felt horrible. At first, I wanted to force myself up and keep my schedule, but when I really checked in, I knew I couldn't fight the level of exhaustion. And I also knew I was celebrating something and someone very important to me, my son and his 21st birthday. So instead of overriding my body, I went back to bed and slept for about 3 more hours. When I woke up, I felt restored, more present, and rested. The second moment was around fullness. I had already eaten a hearty lunch, and I really wanted popcorn at the movies, as well as ice cream afterward. But when I paused and checked in with my body, I realized I was already satisfied. I knew if I kept eating, I would probably feel terrible and might end up with heartburn. So I chose not to get the popcorn or the ice cream and simply told myself this can be a treat for next time. Another question asked me to complete the sentence, "The truth about my body right now is." And the statement that felt true for me was, the truth about my body right now is that it is wiser than I once believed, and it is learning to trust me again. And when I read that aloud, it feels very accepting because I really do want to make peace with my body and care for it, not fight it. Another practice this week was asking myself once a day, what do I need right now? And I have to be honest, that answer is not always easy for me. Sometimes I ask the question and I don't know. This week, that happened while I was feeling a little melancholy, even after having a productive day. I had finished all my work, caught up on things I had not done earlier in the week, and I thought I should feel proud and accomplished, but instead I felt low and didn't know why. When I sat with it longer, I realized what my body wanted was rest and comfort. And that taught me something important. Sometimes the answer doesn't come right away, but if I pause long enough, it does begin to emerge. Another question asked me to identify a habit I am loosening, and I noticed that I'm in the habit of telling myself what I need based on what I have already eaten or done, instead of listening to what my body is actually asking for in the present moment. So the statement I wrote was, I release this by choosing to pause and listen to what my body is truly asking for in the moment. That one really spoke to me because I do worry sometimes that my body may be leading me in the wrong direction. Sometimes the signals are clear and other times they are mixed. And there are also times I'm not sure if what I'm feeling is hunger, fatigue, emotion, restlessness, or something else. I am becoming more aware that this confusion is not failure. It is simply part of learning the language of my body again. Another reflection I did was after meals, I noticed that when I slow my pace down, chew more thoroughly, and stay present, my stomach feels much more comfortable afterward. I don't get that stuffed, unsettled, and queasy feeling. The biggest change right now is not even necessarily that I feel satisfied sooner. It's that my body feels better after eating. And the final commitment I ended this lesson with was this. I committed to staying present with my body by listening with awareness, pausing with compassion, and trusting what it tells me. And honestly, that feels like the perfect summary of what these last 3 months have been about. Listening, pausing, and trusting. Not every day is easy, but it's been steady. And I think that what I want to leave this episode with, 3 months in, I can feel that this journey is slowly unfolding. I'm not just changing how I eat, I'm changing how I live, how I rest, respond, schedule my day, speak to myself, celebrate, and recover from setbacks. And I think one of the biggest things I'm noticing is this. The setbacks have not taken me backward. They have often led me to more growth. They have taught me to slow down, pay attention, be kinder, and become more honest. I can feel the slow nudge towards truly accepting myself where I am now and being genuinely grateful for this body that has brought me this far. That's where I am this week, and I'll check back in a couple of Wednesdays and share what unfolds next. If you're navigating your own relationship with food, body, or health, and would like to learn more about the Empower Her journey or join my free private Facebook group, you can find that information in the links below. And I'll see you next time right here for the Work in Real Time.